Hey guys, what's going on? So the president wrapped up a little over a half hour ago with his daily current task force briefing. So let's tune in and let's see the president's initial remarks, and we'll get a couple speakers in here as well. So, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Holding it outside. It's a fair bit of room out there. Yeah.
And we appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yesterday I announced that we would be extending our social distance guidelines through the end of April. This is based on modeling that shows the peak in fatalities will not arrive for another 2 weeks. The same modeling also shows that by very vigorously following these guidelines, we could save more than 1 million American lives. Think of that, 1 million American lives. Our future is in our own hands, and the choices and sacrifices we make will determine the fate of this virus and really the fate of our victory. We will have a great victory.
We're all in this together.
We have no other choice. Every one of us has a role to play in winning this war. Every citizen, family, and business can make the difference in stopping the virus. This is our shared patriotic duty. Challenging times are ahead for the next 30 days, and this is a very vital 30 days. We're sort of putting it all on the line. This 30 days, so important because we have to get back. But the more we dedicate ourselves today, the more quickly we will emerge on the other side of the crisis. And that's the time we're waiting for. The more we commit ourselves now, the sooner we can win the fight.
Minimize transmissions.
And return to our lives.
Develop medicine.
And they will be great lives.
Have better treatment, better
Maybe
supplies.
Better than ever.
Be better
Today
to
we
tackle
reached a
it.
historic milestone in our war against the coronavirus.
Thank you.
Over 1 million Americans have now been tested, more than any other country by far.
We've totally
not
ramped
even
up.
Close, and tested accurately. And I think
one of the other things that the president was talking about today is apparently there is basically now I'm hearing like a 5-minute test kit, which would be huge. I'm not sure if that's 5 minutes to process it after it's been collected or literally 5 minutes, kind of like one of those at-home tests or something, because that would be just a complete game changer. It seems to be moderately priced as well. I think it was between $1 to $5 or something like that per unit. I mean, that would be huge if we have a new technique for that. So sorry, Mr. President, continue.
What I'd like to do is ask Secretary Azar, who's done a fantastic job, to come up and just say a few words about the fact that we reached substantially now more than 1 million tests. Please. Thank you, Alex.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership in marshaling all the resources that we have for this unprecedented testing effort. And thank you, Mr. Vice President, for leading a whole-of-economy approach to testing. As the President mentioned today, the United States hit more than 1 million samples tested, a number that no other country has reached. We're now testing nearly 100,000 samples a day, also a level that no other country has reached.
I'll also explain why we have the most confirmed cases.
I want to thank every partner that has been involved in this effort. That includes all of the men and women of the FDA and the CDC, including Director Redfield and Commissioner Hahn. Together, the FDA and CDC have worked to balance the need for testing on an aggressive scale with the scientific rigor that Americans expect.
I also want to be accurate.
Working with our testing coordinator, Admiral Giroir, they have now truly unleashed the ingenuity of the private sector and our state and local leaders, the centerpieces of America's historic approach to testing. I want to thank those state and local leaders who've used their on-the-ground resources and knowledge to lead testing and make it much more easily accessible to the Americans who need it. I'm also grateful to FEMA, with whom we're now working closely to get state and local partners.
All the supplies in the world, if they're not in the proper place,
CMS,
logistics.
Where Administrator Verma has given healthcare providers unprecedented flexibility to scale up capacity for testing and treatment, and has ensured that tests will be paid for. Finally, we would not be where we are today without the many American companies, entrepreneurs, and scientists who have worked day and night to develop, as of today, 20 different emergency testing options. With the FDA responding to requests for authorization typically within 24 hours, the number of options is growing nearly every day. FDA has also opened up new options for using the available tests, like self-swabbing, and new options for reagents. I also want to thank FDA and other components of HHS for incredibly rapid action on other tools that we need. This weekend, we actually worked to secure 30 million tablets from Sandoz and 1 million tablets from Bayer of hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine, which are potential COVID-19 treatments. And we authorized Battelle's new decontamination machines, which can each sterilize thousands of essential N95 masks for reuse every day.
We're getting drop
So
frames.
thank you, Mr.
Oh no.
President, for your leadership, and thank you to everybody who's played a part in getting us where we
We'll
are
play
today.
around with this a little later.
Thank you.
My apologies.
I'd like to ask Dr. Hahn to come up, FDA, because we have some really good stuff. First of all, the numbers have been incredible on testing, but in the days ahead, we're going to go even faster, and we have something from Abbott Labs, which is right here, and that's
The new
a
test.
5-minute test, highly accurate. And I maybe can
important.
show that as we listen to our FDA commissioner, the job he's done, and the approval process. We talked about
Get
the
those cranking through. Let's just
chloroquine and the hydroxychloroquine.
make sure these
just
things
now.
are properly prescribed by a
I thought that I'd
physician.
mention it, but Alex has already done that. But we have that now under test with 1,100 people in New York, and it was only the fast approval by FDA that allowed us to do that. It was a really
he's
rapid
flapping in
approval.
the breeze. It's like a
And,
little baby birdie.
Doctor, please say a few words. And this is the first one on the line of the 5-minute test.
He looks fluffy. Sorry, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership. Thank you, Mr. Vice President, for your leadership of the task force. I'm very proud of FDA's staff's work in the last few months to expedite the availability of testing in this country. I'm also incredibly appreciative of private industry's ingenuity and willingness to work with us quickly to develop and distribute those tests. We've had a substantial addition to testing with the authorization of point-of-care tests, especially the Abbott point-of-care test, which the President has pulled out of the box. A point-of-care test is a test that gives you a result where you're getting care. This is truly a patient-centered approach.
So they can literally
whether
take
it's
it there rather than
doctor's
having to
office,
transport it to an actual
urgent care
physical
site,
lab, because not
or
every place has a
drive-by
lab.
testing site. Just
See,
like
try to
tests
catch
for
myself.
flu or strep, where you go to the doctor so you can get the test done.
Keep washing your hands.
You
It
can get an
helps
answer within
minimize a
minutes
lot of it.
having this test done. Now, with those tests being approved for Abbott and for others, these are available around the country. They're planning to scale up the number of tests that can be put out throughout the country over the next month, and patients can get the answer within as little as 15 to 5 minutes. And then, of course, an appropriate plan of treatment can be given. We at FDA are working quickly with Abbott as well on other testing approaches, and normally these tests take months to develop. I was on the phone today with the Abbott CEO. He told me that normally this is a 9 to 12 month approach to developing a point-of-care test. They did this in collaboration with FDA and U.S. government within weeks. Abbott has shared that they will be delivering these tests tomorrow, and then we'll be ramping up. Just like to emphasize one thing: the most innovative and safe products come from the private sector.
So basically,
in partnership with government.
if you went to your physician's office or these individual hospitals, rather than having them to ship the test out, they can collect the test and literally do the test there. I mean, that's huge, as long as it has a high level of accuracy as well. Because we're getting false positives and false negatives before from a lot of the old tests.
So, the pharmaceutical company, Sandoz,
So
has
many
been
drop
working with us very
frames.
closely.
No,
And
my
as
apologies.
Alex mentioned a little bit, 30 million doses of the hydroxychloroquine to the United States government. It's been given. And Bayer has donated 1 million doses of the chloroquine, which will soon be distributed to states and state health officials around the country. Teva Pharmaceuticals is also donating 6 million doses of hydroxychloroquine to U.S. hospitals, 6 million doses. So the private sector, as you'd say, Steve, it's been amazing what's happened, really amazing. And we're going to introduce you to some of the greatest business executives in the world today, no matter where you go. And they're going to say a little bit about what they're doing.
We all gotta
then
help
we
on
have so
times
many
like
more.
this. Do
The
what we
FDA
can.
has also authorized the Battelle's
Pardon?
N95
Excuse me.
respirator mask sterilization
Disinfecting.
kits.
Okay.
It's an incredible thing. I've been
I
asking.
mean, if we can, that's
why
huge.
are we throwing these masks away? You look at some of these masks and they're significant pieces of equipment, and I say, how come you throw them away? Why aren't they using sterilization techniques? And I got a call from Mike.
Because we
Hahn,
usually
the
didn't go
governor
that through
of
that many, Mr.
Ohio.
President. And also the
he's a
regulations
tremendous guy,
to get
tremendous
from
governor.
single
He said,
use
we have a company
to
named
multi-use.
Akil, and they're having a hard time getting approval from
I
the
mean, as
FDA.
long as
And I
it's
called
safe,
up
as long as there's no extra
Dr.
chemicals, because
Hahn,
this
and
is something
within
that
a very
people are
short period
breathing
of
in.
time, they got
Again,
the
I don't
approval,
know.
Steve, we really appreciate it. I want to thank Mike, and I want to thank Steve.
They have a proven process.
And
It's
they're
safe.
going to be able,
Go
each
for it.
machine now can disinfect 120,000 masks per day. Now think of that.
I mean, that's huge.
Each machine can disinfect 120,000 masks per day. It'll be just like a new one. It could go up to about 20 times for each mask. So each
think
mask
they're
can
mostly
go through
cotton,
this
different
process
fibers.
20 times.
But
And
you
they
also
have
don't want to
two
make
in
sure
Ohio, one
that
in
they're
New
not
York,
still contaminated.
and
I mean,
one
if it
will
works,
soon
it
be
works.
shipped to Seattle, Washington, and also to Washington, D.C. So that's going to make a tremendous
In
difference.
times like these,
on
we
the
got to do what we
masks.
can to help save our
This
fellow
morning I
Americans.
spoke to our nation's governors to help each
That-
state get the medical supplies they need.
We can save
And
supplies. It helps the rest of the world,
Vice
too.
President Mike Pence asked our nation's hospitals to begin
So everybody needs this stuff.
reporting total bed capacity, ICU bed capacity, ventilator capacity, and vital medical supply levels on a daily basis. And Mike, thank you for the great job. Thank you very much. In New York, the 2,900 bed hospital under construction, which is now completed, they completed it in 3 days, you might say 3.5 days, at the
Got
Javits
some
Center.
wind. Oh, he looks kind of like
Will be
Boris Johnson
completed
there.
today. Will be, and when you look, so they're
Of
going
course
up.
it's
I think
feeling
we're going to
better.
be adding some more beds, which will be completed today. And we've opened up, whoops, there goes our box. And my hair's blowing around, and it's mine. The one thing you can't get away with, if it's not yours, you got a problem.
I remember this one. This was funny.
And nearly 3,000 medical beds will
Oh.
become operational. The U.S. Navy ship Comfort also arrived today, equipped with 12
Oh.
operating rooms and 1,000 hospital beds. Work has begun on additional temporary hospital sites, including a
The Army
600
Corps
bed
engineers don't mess
capacity nursing
around.
home facility in Brooklyn.
Like
and
3.5, 4
numerous floors
days,
of a high-rise building on Wall
2,900
Street.
beds in a
So
converted
it's been
facility.
really pretty amazing what
That's-
they've done.
that's
The Army
nuts.
Corps of Engineers, what they've done, they just completed. Think of it, a 2,900 bed hospital in New York in just about 3 days, maybe 4 days, and the whole city's talking about it. On top of that, we floated in a
I mean,
great
it's crazy.
ship, which is
great
going to
ship.
be 1,000 rooms, which is being used for patients outside of what we're focused on, and that will free up a lot of rooms for what we're focused on. So it's been great. The Army
that's the
Corps of
thing.
Engineers has awarded contracts for the construction.
The big thing is basically they don't want people who haven't had COVID-19 on the ship. Basically, you don't want to be able to communicate the disease on the ship. I mean, how they're going to get through that checkpoints, access control, I don't know. But the thing is, basically, if somebody happens to have like a horrible accident, they happen to need surgery. I think they have like 14 like surgical rooms and stuff like that. That is crazy, man. It's an amazing ship. Continue.
Construction of alternate care facilities also at the State University at Stony Brook, State University Old Westbury, and the Westchester Community Center. We're sending 60 ambulances to New York City today. We have a total of 60. We're getting some additional ones, with up to 190 more to follow at different locations. To date, FEMA has obligated more than $1.3 billion in federal support to the state of New York. So we're spending a lot of money in New York. It's a hotbed. There's no question about it.
York's getting
And
hit
we're
hard.
spending a lot of time, effort on New
28,000
York, New Jersey.
people per square mile,
Spoke
Samaras.
with Governor Cuomo a lot. Spoke with Governor Murphy a lot in New Jersey, and we're really getting the job done. People are very impressed, and I'm very impressed by the people in FEMA, the people in the Army Corps of Engineers, because what they've done, I've never seen anybody do anything like it. In addition to the 8,100 ventilators that we've already delivered over the next 48 hours, we're delivering more than 1,000. We're going 400 ventilators are going to Michigan very shortly. 300 going to New Jersey. 150 ventilators to Illinois. 150 to Louisiana and 50 to Connecticut. FEMA and HHS already delivered 11.6 million N95 respirators, 26 million surgical masks, 5.3 million face shields, 4.4 million surgical gowns, and 22 million gloves. And I don't know if you just saw, it just came over the wires that Ford just announced just a little while ago.
Making what,
that
30,000
they will
respirators?
produce, along with General Electric Healthcare, 50,000 ventilators, and they're
Wow.
going to be doing it in less than 100 days.
Good for them.
On top
Thank
of
you.
that, we have other companies that are doing ventilators, including General Motors. But we have 9 other companies doing ventilators. As we outpace what we need, we're going to be sending them to Italy. We're going to be sending them to France.
Well,
We're
that's
going to
the
be
thing.
sending them to Spain, where they have tremendous
We
problems.
can manufacture like nobody's business.
And
These
other
folks need
countries
it.
as we can. But the fact that we're doing so many so quickly is a tribute to our great companies. More than 14,000 National Guard members have been
Tribute to our
activated
country.
and can help supplement state and local efforts to distribute personal protective equipment, where we're sending a lot. We have plane loads coming in. We have 51 loads from various locations all around the world, and they're landing. We had our first big cargo plane land this morning, and we're getting it from all over the world. And we're also sending things that we don't need to other parts. I just spoke to the Prime Minister of Italy, and we have additional capacity. We have additional product that we don't need. We're going to be sending approximately $100 million worth of things, surgical and medical and
Okay,
hospital
so additional
things
medical
to
supplies that we don't
Italy.
really need, that we're not going to
And
need in the very short-term
Giuseppe
future.
was very, very happy.
There was
They're
awesome.
having a very hard time. Joining us this afternoon are CEOs of the great American companies that are fulfilling their patriotic duty by producing or donating medical equipment to help meet our most urgent needs. What they're doing is incredible. And these are great companies. Darius Domchek of Honeywell. You know that. And Darius has been,
Drop frames are terrible. It's like 8%.
somebody that I've dealt
Oh,
with
I'm
in
going
the
to have to tweak
past.
this. I'm sorry, everybody.
and he's a great leader of a great company. Deborah Waller of Jockey International. A friend of mine, Mike Lindell of My Pillow. Boy,
My
do you
Pillow.
sell those
That's,
pillows. That's
So another
unbelievable what
story
you do.
altogether. Basically, the president goes on, he shouts out. There ends up being some controversy over some folks with the My Pillow gentleman, because he happens to be a bit more of a religious gentleman. What am I going to do? Hate a man for believing in God? Come on. It's like I'm a freaking bloody heathen. I'm a terrible human being. But, all right, so long story short, to recap, basically social distancing guidelines the president is recommending to extend through April 30th. That's what we got yesterday. Today, what we're getting from the president is we're ramping up capacity all over the board. We're attempting to sanitize and reuse some of those N95 face masks as well, because I believe from when I've used them, I'll have to double check. I think I have like an old one on the car or something, but I think it's like a cotton and different fiber-based material. So in theory, I guess you could, again, if you're working in a dusty area and stuff, based upon my experience before, if you're going to be doing that for like 6 to 8 hours, man, it's like you're going to want to go through a couple of masks, especially if you're working hard. If you sweat, because if it gets sweaty, then it becomes even harder to breathe. So in case you happen to be wearing that and you're sick, you not only have to deal with like the acute respiratory syndromes, but if it's actually hard to get oxygen in here, that's just another barrier there, and that could actually complicate some things. And I fear like some folks, out of just doing the due diligence, that may explain why you see certain folks with masks fall on the ground. Again, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional, but these are scary times, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on that we don't necessarily know how it's going to fully play out. We're hoping for the best, we're planning for the worst. These are the times we got to come together, and I truly believe in us that we can do this. We just need to get over ourselves. There ain't nothing we can't do. So, hey, thank you all for watching. Peace out, everybody. Be safe, and long live the elbow bump.